Hi, and welcome back to our podcast, Startup Story. We are today at the Future Week in the Media City Bergen as a part of a stadium program, and we have a special guest, Steve from Wordnerds, and we're really excited to interview you and get a couple of insights about you, your background maybe, and your company. So tell us all about it.
Fantastic, thanks, Andrew. Well, if you'd asked me 5 years ago if I would be working for running a tech company, that was so far away from what I imagined I was going to be doing. I was a linguist at university. I was focusing on kind of Scottish mythology. I was interested in giants and fairies and that sort of thing. I started looking at options for finding patterns in language, because I wanted to see the difference between Scottish mythology and like Irish mythology and English mythology. And I wanted to find out what was special about Scotland. Around that time, I had a daughter. I realized I didn't want to work for a big organization anymore. And I started thinking, finding that special thing, that special, how this group is communicating compared to how that group is communicating. That's kind of the purpose of business communication as well, or certainly of Marcoms, of marketing communication. So I started, because it was the world I know, I started bringing together university prospectuses, put them through the same process that I was putting, the mythological cycle and the Book of Fenian and all these sort of things through. And I then went to the universities and said, is this interesting? Is this something, is it interesting to Oxford University, how they're different in how they express themselves to what Cambridge University said? And I did that for a little while, just as a kind of freelancer, kind of pulling this stuff together and writing reports. And then I met my business partner, Pete, my co-founder at Wordnerds, and he was running a digital agency at the time. And he likes to say that he said, have you heard of this thing called the internet? You should really look at it. And so we started looking at similar things for social media, for survey responses, for customer feedback of all kinds. Started working with organizations like Nissan, Sainsbury's in the UK. And that eventually became Wordnerds. And that's kind of how I ended up where I am. So it's been a very strange journey from Celtic giants all the way through to understanding what people think about their cars. But it's been a really exciting one.
But that's I think very special about every startup story or background story. I think every founder has this special story that most of us are some kind of misfits.
Yeah.
That never could have actually made it maybe in the corporate world, and that's why we're trying to create our own companies. So maybe now it's time to that you pitch Wordnerds in a couple of sentences. It will be interesting for our audience to hear. Okay, well, what your guys are actually doing, to understand that in the lamest terms, and of course, your role in the stadium program. But first of all, Wordnerds.
Absolutely. Well, Wordnerds, we like to say, is the second best text analysis platform in the world. The best is your brain. Our brain's not necessarily just yours, Andrew, but yours will definitely be up there.
Thank you.
The idea behind our platform is to pull out the useful and crucially the actionable insight within large quantities of text data. So if you are a big organization, whether that's a media organization or a customer organization, you will be getting such huge amounts of data that having a human being read through them is no longer a feasible way of approaching it. But we feel that every voice also deserves to be heard. So what we try and do is to pull out the useful, actionable insight from large quantities of text data so that the organizations can make better decisions. With the Stadium program, we've been given this amazing opportunity to look at media archives in the same way. So finding opportunities to look at an archive, not just necessarily article by article, but looking at the whole thing in the main, looking at how things are changing, and actually adding value at that kind of higher level. And that's been a really exciting process. It's been wonderful to meet all the other startups as well. There's been some, I mean, you know as well, as you guys are also doing some amazing stuff with this program. There's some brilliant startups and scale-ups that are all sort of working together. I think there's a really good atmosphere between us all. And this opportunity to find new ways of approaching media archives for us is a really exciting potential next step in our adventure.
Maybe a step back, just for me to understand. And I'm sure you've heard this a lot of times, but you know, kind of trying to analyze a large amount of text and kind of trying to make sense of it is a known problem. So, what is your unique like secret sauce or unique take on that you are trying to kind of put out there as a USP?
Absolutely. So there are generally two ways that you'll approach a text data set. You either know what you're looking for, you're going in to look for a specific thing that you are interested in, or you don't know what you're looking for. You just want to figure out what the data will bear, what generally people are talking about. You don't want to influence them by looking at it through a certain phase. If you know what you're looking for, there are lots of tools out there, lots of NLP tools, but you have to be looking for the things they're already looking for. Mm-hmm. If you want to look for something different or slightly bespoke or something new comes in, then it's very difficult to, you have to go and you know, the data scientist, they'll spend weeks training a new model for you, and it will cost you thousands of pounds. When you know what you're looking for, we've developed a way of a non-technical person training their own AI. So we basically cut out the middleman. So rather than you trying to explain to a data scientist what you're looking for, the data scientist then goes and trains a model. We've developed an interface that allows you to train the model yourself. Wow. When you don't know what you're looking for, that's where really I think natural language processing is still really in its infancy. Mm-hmm. If you don't have any direction to give the AI, it doesn't know what you want it to look for. That's a really kind of, we've kind of crossed that by mixing AI with the kind of the really old school linguistic stuff. So looking at the underlying structure of language, because as you know, as a communicator, every word is the meaning of it is not based just in that word. It's based in the way in which that word is acting in that sentence, the way in which it's interacting with the other words in that sentence. So we use all those other layers of information rather than just generally what happens in our field is people just make a bigger model, throw more data at it, try and get it up to speed that way. We found that, you know, if you use that kind of those really amazing, beautiful patterns, you can get better kind of outputs on the other side. So I guess those are the two main ways in which we feel like we differ from other providers in our space.
Yeah, very exciting, very exciting. So basically what you're saying is you are taking the machine learning and you're combining this with the old, maybe forgotten linguistic knowledge that has been there for ages and trying to kind of help the machine to identify the patterns.
100%. I think that so much of innovation happens in the intersections of disciplines, that we do things that I couldn't, with my background, hope to do myself. And it's the same with our team that are, you know, AI professionals and data scientists. It's when we bring all those things together, and I think that's where so much of the really exciting stuff happens in innovation. So we'd like to be a part of it.
Yeah, great. Maybe a couple of things about like where you are at your startup journey. So is it like MVP that you have? Do you have paying customers? You know, what kind of stage are you?
Yeah, we have paying customers. We are a kind of I guess between our seed funding from a VC company and our Series A, which we're hoping to do in the next kind of year or so, I would say. It's a really interesting time because obviously there are lots of different kind of when we're kind of at the sort of scale level. We're about 20 staff. And then a whole new different set of problems kind of turn up at that point, and that's really exciting and also you know, quite stressful and quite kind of challenging. But yeah, we're kind of we have customers. We have a kind of fully functioning platform, and the stadium is an opportunity to use that platform in a completely different way, which is also really exciting.
Perfect. This is the perfect place to plug the platform. So where do I go to see the platform?
It's Wordnerds.ai is our website. Please do come and check it out. And I'm on Twitter at Stevie the Giant. So you can find me there as well, naturally.
Maybe last question. It's kind of a philosophical spin on it. What was one thing that shocked you when you entered this startup world? One thing could have not that shocked you, but when you entered this startup world?
Shocked me. Honestly, I think how generous people were with their time. That's a kind of good shock, I think. There were lots of bad shocks as well. I mean, we made some massive blunders in the early days. But I think the thing that surprised me the most was actually if you go and ask people for advice or understanding, they will normally give it to you. And actually, it's the people that ask that tend to, be able to benefit from that. And I've always been really surprised by how, busy people will give you a little bit of time to talk to you about an idea and that sort of thing. And that's been a hugely beneficial and hugely gratifying shock that we've had in this process.
Great. You just need to, of course, approach. You need to take this first step and say, okay, yeah, I'm going.
100%.
I'm gonna.
And I'm naturally a really sort of shy person, and that is kind of that was a big step for me. But once you start doing it, you realize that it's just human beings, and you just kind of have to do that.
Steve, great talk. Thank you very much for your backstory, for your startup story, and I wish you all the luck in the Stadium program, and hope to see you in the next stage.
And
thank you so much.
Real pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.